All right, we're COMP2068. It's week 8, lesson 8, part 2. We just finished talking about assignment 3, which is due in 2 weeks. And now we're going to go into how to build this thing out. Okay, couple changes that I recommend that you make. Let's go into our Visual Studio environment. So if you're, we want to load up the latest version of Create.js, but your Visual Studio environment only includes TypeScript of level 1.3 for the most part. In order for you to make yourself go into 1.4, which will work properly with the Create.js libraries the way they are. Remember we had that big problem with the libraries? We couldn't make them match. We had all these errors, right? Well, part of that was because we didn't have 1.4. They had just come up with it on the Visual Studio side, and now, of course, they've released it. So if I go to Tools, Extensions and Updates, right, on Visual Studio, if I look for, from an extension and updates perspective, if I go to TypeScript, if I type in TypeScript, right, and click kind of OK, right, and if I look at all the stuff that's been installed, so if I look at all, so TypeScript for thing, you should see that in your version, right, in your version, you should see that there's a TypeScript 1.4 that you can download, a standalone. I can't see it here because I've already installed it. But you should be able to see a TypeScript 1.4. Do you see that? It's there. Let's go it online and see if I can get it from online. So TypeScript, if I go to online, and it should show me that I've got it. Okay, so there's my phaser for TypeScript. If I scroll down, look what it says here. TypeScript 1.4 for Visual Studio 2013. Right? That's the one you need. You see that? I need you to download and install this piece for yourself. If you look at it's online, it's on the online Visual Studio gallery, right? It's coming down from TypeScript, right? The TypeScript team. So what it does is it'll actually install TypeScript for Visual Studio 2013 nicely, right? And 1.4 is what you need to go to, right? If you don't do this, just letting you know, you're going to have issues with the latest versions of the libraries. Okay, worst case scenario. You can't download TypeScript 1.4, or you can't use it with your new system, or you know what, you don't have access to it. The school system can't be updated, and that's all you have access to because you don't have any money or whatever. You don't have a laptop. What do? Right? Well, the great thing is the versions that I've given you up online, right? You can certainly use those versions, right, without updating, right? So if you actually download my template, MailPilot version 11, it has working versions of the previous Create.js library, which is perfectly acceptable. There's not a lot of big changes. There's some really cool things that have come up with the new one, but not a lot of cool changes that you can't do with the old version of TypeScript. The reason why I'm recommending this is because I want you to learn and use TypeScript for this course, right? Because this will enable you to make more powerful applications later on. Well, under Visual Studio Gallery search results, online. It's got to be the online piece. There's installed right here. TypeScript with a capital T. Did you find it? You guys found it, right? Yeah. So that's my recommendation. You download and install. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that while I'm talking. I don't know if you have access to do that here on the machine. You could do it on the machine too. Oh, you're remote, so you can do it remotely, so no problem. Anyone else? Tom, you're going to have an issue with that? You're installing it right now? So I recommend you download and install TypeScript 1.4 for your machine so you don't have any issues. So a bit of setup for this one. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit of a new template from our old Create.js template for this library because I kind of bastardized the last TypeScript definition files for the library, and I want to create kind of a new kickoff point for our project. So I'm going to kind of update our Create.js template that's online that you can start off with. All right. So how to do that? I'm going to go File. I'm going to open up, let's go open up our existing template, and I'll show you where that is online if you want to follow along. But I'm going to update our stuff right now. Actually, I've kind of saved it. If I go File, New Project, I've created a template that I can use here. If I go scroll down, I've got down here different templates that I use, right? One of them, if you notice, is my CreateJS boilerplate. There's two different ones, right, that I've got going on. And I've also got a COMP2068 CreateJS boilerplate that I can use. This is the one that I'm going to start off with, that I've already done. And if you notice, this is the one that I'm going to do, COMP2068. It's going to be called COMP2068 CreateJS boilerplate. But I'm going to change this to mail pilot demo, right? Because that's the one I want to do with you. So mail pilot demo, right? Because basically what we want to do is we want to demonstrate how to build mail pilot from the ground up, right? Okay, so this is the one. Now, where am I getting this thing from? So I'm going to download and install this thing. It says your project uses a version of TypeScript older than the version currently installed. So after you install version 1.4, you're going to get this message, right? You should say yes, right? This is a good thing to say yes. Okay. I want to show you the errors before we continue. So I'm not going to change anything that I put up there yet, right? But where I got this project was, if you go up on GitHub again, right? So here's GitHub. If we go up on GitHub, and if we look at my repositories again, here's my repositories. And if I search for COMP2068, right, there is this CreateJS boilerplate that you guys used to create your last exam. Remember, we did this? So here's your boilerplate. And if you notice, it was updated on January 29th, right, which is not too long ago, right? So this is the one that I want you to download, and we're going to use this one as a jump-off point, right now. Okay, so this is my new one, right? My boilerplate, instead of a boilerplate, I'm calling it mail pilot demo, right? So I'm just going to create a new one. So let's just do it here. Again, go back to GitHub. Forgot to do that here. I'm going to go plus a new repository. I'm going to create this. So COMP2068, and it's going to be mail pilot demo, right? That's what I'm going to be kicking off today. I'm kind of creating a new repository here. I'm going to grab the URI, copy it, and I'm going to go into Team Explorer changes. And if you notice, there's all these files I'm adding in, right? I don't have any excluded files or untracked files right now. Here they all are. And I'm going to go in here and say created, base, CreateJS project, right? Commit. I'm going to go home and then go unsync commits, and I'm going to copy in my URI and press publish. Okay, so that should give you everything that I have online in a second when this decides to publish my branch. It's done. So let's go into my newest repository, right? Which is this mail pilot demo. Now I got some red pieces, right? And some yellow pieces in here. What does this mean? Do you guys know from a statistics perspective? Well, you can do that if you actually check on language statistics. It tells you TypeScript 40%, right? C# 34.5%, HTML 18.5%, JavaScript 5.9%, and CSS 1.1%. File statistics for what I'm using here online. It's just a little note of how you can take a look at that. Okay, we don't care about that right now. We want to make this file go, right? And I've got some stuff I need to clean up here. So let's start off. Are you guys with me? If you guys go to, while you're installing stuff, I'll start running this, start going with it. I'm just going to clean up my file here, and then I'll slow down for you guys to catch up. So I need to do some cleaning up, and then I'll update it on GitHub, okay? So here's where I'm going to start off. I know in my index.html, I've got these files. I'm just going to kind of zoom in here a little bit so you can see more, right? So here's all my files that I got in index.html. And if you notice right now, I'm hitting this onload method. Now, this is cool. When my onload method fires or triggers, it kind of hits this init function that's existing where in my JavaScript files, which is right here. Here's my game.ts file. And in my game.ts file, if you notice, right, I've got this init function right here. Here's my init function. Yeah? My init function, and I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see this as well, right? It has a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to save it. And when I save, it's going to transcompile into JavaScript. So first thing I do when I start off a new project is save my JavaScript files. Okay, I got a couple things going on here. It kicks off my init function, but so far, I don't know if you guys have noticed, we've been loading everything step by step. And I can't do that anymore because now we have a bigger project. We're going to have to do some preloading, right? So I got to build a preloader with you today, right? And how do we do that? Anyway, so I got to do a couple things. First of all, I don't need any of my buttons right now, so I'm just going to kill all those. So all my button handlers and all that stuff, that's gone. And you know what? I don't want any of this stuff in here inside this area here. I'm just going to kick all that away too. So my function main is pretty much empty now, right? Also, my hello text rotation, that's gone because I don't have hello text anymore. And you know what? I'm going to go way to the top where I say game objects. I'm going to wipe that out too, right? Okay, cool. The other thing I'm going to do is if I look at my assets right now, I've got audio assets and fonts that are empty. And I've got this images assets folder that I've got this base button. Well, I don't need that, so I'm going to kill that too. So I'm killing that. I've also put together in my downloads, I've got this MailPilot assets that I put together that I'm going to include right now for you guys. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to take all these assets and I'm going to include them so you can use them when we build up our stuff. So you can join me on the same thing that I'm doing because I can't pass you assets so easily. I don't want to get you to look for assets right now. I want you to have my assets, right? So I'm going to do that. When I update to GitHub, you can go in there and grab them, right? So here's my sounds, my engine sound, my thunder sound, my yay sound, yay, that one. All those ones are there. I'm going to put that into audio as well. So I've got my audio and I've got my images and I'm going to save. Right? And at this point, I'm going to update my GitHub. I'm going to go into Home, go to Changes, and if you notice, there's some stuff I removed and some things I added. And I want to make sure I include this stuff, so I'm going to add all these untracked files. That's important. And there's these 14 changes I made. I'm going to say added, cleaned up project, clean project, added assets. That's what I really did. Right? And commit. And press yes, and it's going to commit. I'm going to go home, and then I'm going to go to instant commits and sync, which means you should have everything that I have now in a second when this decides to commit. There we go. Okay, so if I go back into GitHub, if you go into GitHub, you'll see those files there. You can get those assets and download them or fork me on GitHub now and create your project. This is our starting point. Have you guys finished installing 1.4 yet? Is anyone still working on installing 1.4? Okay, so you're almost done, Tom? I'm going to continue. Okay, it's important to get a 1.4 going or else my version of what I'm doing here and your version will clash. You'll say there's a newer version of TypeScript than the one that's been installed on your system and blah, blah, blah. And 1.4 gives us a few different options. We're going to see we have to make changes as it is. Okay, so let's go to if I want to add a preloader, remember, we're going to use something. There's 4 libraries that are included in Create.js. 4 libraries, right? We've got Easel.js. We've got Tween.js, which we haven't touched. We've got Sound.js. And we've got Preload.js. Those are the 4 libraries. We're going to use the Preload.js library today. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to go into our Create.js library. And instead of hitting Easel, we're going to go back to the main, and we're going to go to Preload.js, or click Docs, actually, is where I want to go. And if you notice, under Docs, there's all these different libraries: Easel.js, Tween.js, Sound.js, and Preload. We want to hit Preload. Go to Docs for Preload, right? So here's our API for the Preload.js. And if you notice, the Preload module has what we want, right? Here's our module, right? And our module has something called a load queue. This is what we want to do right here. So, and also if you notice, I have something of a function called handle complete. Handle complete is actually what we're going to use our init function, the current init function we have here, as something we're going to do. But I need this piece here to start off our preloading. So I can start off with this, okay? before I go there, I need to put something before my init function to preload stuff before I start loading the canvas. That's why it's called a preloader, right? So I'm going to call my function preload, right? My function is going to be called preload, and this function here, this preload function, is the one that's going to load first. If I want to make this function load first, what do I need to do? Anybody? And the index.html, right? I have init here. I have to replace this with preload, right? If I don't do that, it won't load first. Preload. Okay. So if I'm hitting preload here, and by the way, I don't have to do this. This semicolon is unnecessary. I don't know why it's here. But if I do this preload, if you notice, these are all the libraries. This is all correct. What is incorrect in our little files right now is all of our TypeScript data or our type definition libraries here, which we may, as you see as we go on, have to replace. This is a good exercise so you understand how they function anyway. But these type definition libraries are going to give us some issues, as you're going to see in a second, because they're for the old versions of Create.js. Remember, we didn't have TypeScript 1.4, and we had to make those changes. But that's not what we want to do. We want to use the latest versions. Okay, let's go back into game.ts. Okay, so for in here, in your preloader then, if we go back to the API documentation, I just need to do this. I need to take all this stuff here, first for now. Let's just grab it all, copy it, go back into my files, right, and paste it for now. So I'm going to go Control-V. Okay, so far, no issues, yeah? But let's take a look. First of all, Q has no meaning for me, right? I don't have a queue, right? I want to have assets. So let's rename this thing just for now. I'm going to highlight this, right-click, refactor, rename, and I'm going to change this to, asset or assets, and press OK. So now it's my assets that I'm loading. I'm preloading, or in my load queue, I'm loading up my assets. I could call this a loader, right? Which is also a good name, or asset loader. If you like asset loader more, let me just change that to asset loader for you guys, because that's more important. Asset loader. Here's my asset loader, right? That's all it is. It's an asset loader or preloader, if you will, right? Now, there's a couple of issues. One of the issues I have is this is a local variable here, asset loader. I don't want to use it here. I want to kind of do it up here. So I think the most important thing is for us to make it on the global scope here for now and call it var asset loader, capital L. And what is it? If we type definition, we give it type definition, it's create.js.loadQ. That's what it is. Right, so we're making a reference to this thing. Now I don't have to do the same thing down here. I don't have to define what that is anymore. Right? Because I don't have to redefine or declare my asset loader, which I did up here. And this is going to go hand in hand with stage and canvas and all that stuff. These are like requirements, right? Okay, if you notice the next piece, I have this thing called install plugin, my Create.js sound. This is good. This is good. And my Create.js sound plugin, it says that it'll enable all my sounds for me, right? This is good. My next piece is this assetLoader.on method. On is actually it's a replacement for add event listener. We use in the latest version of Create.js, instead of using add event listener, just like in jQuery, we can use .on. There's .on and .off. .on would be add event listener. .off would be remove event listener. All right? It's just a replacement, almost like a shortcut for that. And if you notice, I say, I'm listening for this type of event. I'm listening, right, for my loading to complete. That's what it's saying. So I'm waiting for my load to complete. And when it does, I want to have a handler to handle what happens when my load completes. Well, guess what? I do have a handler. It's right here. It's called init, right? So I'm going to replace this handle complete to init. I'm going to initialize my code now. I'm also going to pass in a reference to my loader when I do this. Okay, I can also do this. I can load up a file, load file, sound, and so on, but I don't want to do that here. I want to do that in my manifest. And if you look at my manifest here, take a look at my manifest, I have an ID and a source. Hey, this is interesting. I really have an array, don't I? Look at this array that's right here. If you know JavaScript object notation, JSON, you can see that this is just an array with one object inside of it. Here's my one object. Well, let's separate this out. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to create a new variable in the global scope, and we're going to call this variable manifest. Right, here's my manifest, right? You can also call this asset manifest, data, whatever you want to call it, right? But I'm going to load this thing up. So I'm going to kind of take this stuff out here. I'm going to cut it out, Control X. I'm going to go Control V. I'm going to put it right in here for now, and make sure I have a semicolon here, right? Because this is my array that I've declared. Well, asset loader, this load manifest method needs a manifest. So I'm going to pass in manifest into it. I just declared a new variable called manifest and just passing that in there, right? So I'll just separate it out for you. So it's nice and clean, right? Here's my manifest. Now, if you notice, this is how it works. Here's the ID. By the way, this object that I have here, it breaks down into key value pairs. ID and the value. Source and the path, right? Those are the kind of things. These are key value pairs that are part of this object, right? I can do several objects within my manifest, an array of objects that I want to load up, just like a JSON file, right? So I could call this thing as an example. Let's look at my assets, right? Here's my assets. I'm not going to use this one, but here's cloud. Okay, that's cool. Let's put cloud in here. I'm going to name this thing cloud. Change the name for here to cloud. And now I'm going to do my path to the image. So my path, of course, I have to do manually type. It is assets, images, cloud.png. So here it is, assets, images, cloud.png. And now that's my first asset. I'm going to use a comma because it's an array, right? And I'm going to take this whole line and copy it and paste it underneath. Here's my second asset. In order, my second one is island. I don't have to do it in order. I'm just doing it so to prove a point here. Here's my island. I'm going to do the rest of them now. And if you notice, I'm just extending my array. I'm adding more elements to my array here. Right? Here's ocean. Right? Except for ocean is a GIF or a GIF file, depending on the one you want to pronounce it. Yes? Could. But we want it to go slow, right? See, you go so fast, man, right? I know you're advanced, and maybe you want to do that first. It won't be XML. You want to do it in a JSON file. It's better for CreateJS. Yeah, JSON is a little better. Okay, and then plain. Here's my plain object, right? That I'm defining, and I'm going to put in plain in here, right? Okay, so I've got a bunch of assets. Look, I've got an extra comma here. I don't need this comma. I'm going to take it away. Because you know what? This is right now, this is my manifest. My manifest is all these objects, right? With key value pairs. Here's my first property of this object, right? I've got 4 objects. Each of my objects has 2 properties, an ID and a source, right? I am initializing each of my objects' properties with data, cloud for my ID, as an example. The source path for my path. Okay, that's what I'm doing here. Okay, cool. Now that that's good, I've preloaded everything. The next thing I need to probably do is test that there's no errors before I do anything else. So I'm going to go down here and do a console.log command, and then kind of say, getting our game started. Just to make sure that we get all the way down here. Right? Because I haven't changed anything else. I still got my game loop. I still got everything else going on, right? But I want to do this preloading first to see if this works. I'm going to run this thing now, right? If all goes well, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, right? I should be fine. Let's just look at my, I'm going to go to my hamburger here, go to More Tools, go to JavaScript Console, and let's take a look what it says in my JavaScript Console. Hey, I got no errors. Are you like this with me? All right? If you don't have any errors, we're good to go so far. This is where now we're entering trouble territory. All right? First of all, let me update my GitHub stuff, because you guys, we've done a couple things here. I'm going to go home I'm going to stop debugging. I'm going to go to Team Explorer. I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Changes. And it says I've got 4 changes. I'm going to say added preloader, right? That's my change. Commit. I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Unsync Commits and Sync. So now you guys should have the latest version on GitHub, right? Are you all with me? Let's take a look at what I've done here in my preloader a little bit and do some more commenting, all right? Just so we understand what's going on. So here, I'm defining my load queue, right? This is where I'm defining my load queue, defining an error connected when I'm connecting with my request. Oh. I don't know what happened there, but that's okay. Got some definite connection issues here today. There we go, it's finally done. All right, so in here, I'm gonna go, so I've instantiated, right, my asset loader here. That's what I'm doing. That's my object. So I have to create a new asset loader, and I got to use the load queue class to instantiate my object. Okay. Then after I've instantiated my object, who the hell is that? I instantiated my object. I've got to use this. Remember, before we can use sounds, we have to install the plugin, which is this Create.js plugin for sound. By the way, this sound plugin covers all web audio, most of the basic sounds that you can use. Okay? And then what we do is we use this. This is our event handler, right? That basically detects if that triggers when load is complete, right? Or when load triggers when loading is done. And I'm sorry, this is extra little remarks here, but it's important for you guys to understand this, because if you don't get it, then you're going to just, put the code in because I told you to put it in. You don't want to know what's happening, right? And it's important to understand what's going on, because one day you're going to make your own, and I'm not going to be around, and you're not going to explain you're not going to understand what any of these things do. All right, here's the next one. I'm going to load my manifest. I'm going to use my manifest to load, right? So here's this thing here is my asset manifest. That's what it is, right? And it's basically an array of asset objects. That's all it is, right? And they have 2 properties, ID and source. And here in my load manifest, I'm loading my asset manifest. That's all I'm doing here. Okay? Nothing else has changed. All I've done is this piece. Okay, now I want to create my first object, and I want to kind of position my plane on a random location on the screen. How do I do that? Let's just get rid of this test thing. I want to create a new local object. Yes? Uh-huh. I don't have the other line. I only have 4 lines here. So install plugin, and the other one I don't load. I don't load the file for sound yet. Okay? For now. And if you notice this console.log, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to create a new object, a plane object. So I'm going to go var, right, my plane, which is of type create.js. Let's try this out. Create.js.bitmap, right, is equal to what? A new bitmap file, create.js bitmap. And normally we put in the path to the plane. But we don't want to do that because we've already preloaded it. So now all I have to do is go like this. I'm going to do assets, which is my asset loader, dot get result, right? And inside there, I'm going to say plane. Okay, I got an error. Oh man, what the hell? How come I'm getting this error? It says argument of type object is not assignable to parameter of type string. This is our first issue, right? Because, and by the way, it'll still run, right? Because remember, we're encountering type definition issues. This is not a Create.js problem. This is not a JavaScript problem. This is underlined here, is stopping us because it says the way we've defined our type definition library or file, remember we're using the old type definition files? It doesn't understand that this can also take an object. How do we fix it? We're going to do that here. But first, let's just continue, just ignoring the error. All right? And you may have to do that. If you import a new library you've never seen before, or that's not included in the definitely typed library that's online in GitHub, you're going to have to do a little bit of your own type definition file, right? Which we're going to kind of go into today. Very simple. All right, so here's my plane. I got my plane now. I want to add it to the stage. What do? Stage.addChild plane, right? Like normal. I'm going to save it. And remember, even though I can run it through my browser, first if I build my solution, if I go build solution here with that error, will it allow me to build my solution? Let's see. Build started, build failed. Why? Forget these lint issues. This is just a thing. I got some errors, right? I got 2 errors if I go into. And the errors, they don't understand what they are, but one of them is argument type object is not assignable to parameter of type string. So I'm listening for a string inside my my bitmap. My bitmap is only key to listen for a string. That's not good, right? It needs to be able to take an object. That's the first thing. And the second argument is build argument of type object is not assignable to parameter of type string. It's the same issue for line 95 and 96. It's not allowing me to build my project. However, if you were to run this thing by itself, for example, if I go back in Solution Explorer, and if I, even with all these errors, if I right-click, just to prove to you that it's not a JavaScript error or my error, right? If I right-click and go to Open Folder and File Explorer, here's my open folder, right? And I've just preloaded files. And if I go here and try and double-click this thing, will it work? Let's see. We might get some cross-scripting errors. That's what Google likes to do. If I refresh, right? And let's take a look at the errors that I get down here in this JavaScript console. Okay, this is what you're going to see. If you start seeing these XML HTTP requests, which is an XHR load error, right? And look what it tells you, cross origin. This is bad. Cross origin means, hey, you know what? I'm having issues loading your files, right? Because, and look, it didn't get rid of my getting our game started either. That's not good either. It didn't do that. That harkens to a couple of issues, right? One, we did get rid of it here, right? But it didn't update, which means there is a possibility that on this side, I didn't save my file properly or didn't cross-compile, right? That's an issue. If it doesn't cross-compile because you can't build, then you're not going to change your JavaScript file, which is bad. So it totally stopped me from functioning. I can't do anything at this point. And the reason why I can't do anything is because I got an error that I can't fix. How do we fix it? Like this. So inside my scripts folder, all right, I've got a bunch of these library and my lib folder. I've got my library, so create.js, easel.js 0.8, preload.js 0.6, and all these other ones. What I need to do is get rid of them. So I'm going to get rid of all these type definition libraries now. So I'm going to right-click and delete. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. If you guys can do this with me, don't worry. We will fix the problem, right? All the type definition libraries you want to get rid of, right? And this one. And the last one. Now this is bad because now you thought I had problems before, right? Now it's really got problems, right? Because it doesn't understand create.js, what this thing is, and blah. A couple of approaches we can use here. One, we can create our own type definition library, which is insane because it's like 100 classes we have to define, which makes no sense to me. Or we can use something called Nuget, of course, right? Go to Tools. We're going to go to Nuget Package Manager right here, and we're going to go to Manage Nuget Packages for Solution. When we do that, we're going to start typing in the first thing, create.js. Follow me here, you're going to be fine. If you don't follow me here, you're going to go into Peril, right? Let's see if it finds our create.js library. And give it a second because you might find it faster than me because right now my system looks like it's like I'm dying here, right? And if maybe if I plug in, it'll be a little bit faster. You guys see it yet? Okay. Nothing showing up yet. Like me? You got this? No results found is bad. Search again. You should go in the, if you go to Nuget Package Manager.
Oh. Yeah, it says not found, and then it's and then comes up. I have Nuget Package Manager installed.
So if I go to create.js and press enter, what I want to find is TypeScript. If this doesn't work, if I type in TypeScript create.js like that, sometimes that also helps me. This doesn't, but the create.js library or easel.js by itself, right? You need to go all for online, not just Microsoft and .NET, right? And what you want to find is this create.js library here, right? And if I go to Nuget.all or updates or whatever, do you guys find it yet? I can't. But that's just because I'm not as talented as you guys. The other thing to look at sometimes is easel.js. So if I go to easel or easel.js, right? These are the things you want to find. Okay, here we go. See this? It's just not coming up for me because it's slow, right? I definitely need this. But hold on, I need the first one, which is my create.js library. So this is definitely one way we can, oh, here it finally came up. All right. Now there's two. Be careful. One of them is dated 7/2/2014, and the other one is dated 1/22/2015. That's the one you want, right? You don't want the old one. Click Install. What this does is it installs inside your typings. There's a place that's called typings on the right. See right here? A new library, a new folder with typings, okay? Let's continue. We need more of these things. The next one is easel.js. So let's go to easel.js. Bear with me while I get this same problem. Here's the next one, easel.js. There's only one version. If you notice, the last published date is 1/25/2015. This is good. Click Install and press OK. Okay, cool. We got easel. Now we need sound.js, and this is going to cause us issues. We're going to cry because of sound.js. All right? Don't worry. Sound.js is going to be a problem. I'm going to go to sound.js, click on this one, and install. Right? All right, cool. Oh, lots of stuff there. Okay, let's go to the next one. The last one, of course, is Preload.js. Right? Preload.js. So I've done all of them with you. Oh, there it is. And it says it's been installed already. I got a problem here. I got a problem over here. How do I get rid of it? I can't. Absolutely can't, but I need it. If I don't have a typing for Preload.js, and if you notice, I do have a typing for Preload.js, it got loaded in with one of the other ones. And that's why it's been clicked on. All right? So this is all good, but I got one more problem. I still got this issue, right, here. And I still got this issue. This web audio thing is a new thing, right, that I'm going to talk about. What the hell, what do we do here, right? Because some of this is, we're going to have some issues with this one in the future. It still won't allow us to build. If you go up here to our file, we get a couple of other issues. A sound issue. It says property sound does not exist on type of create.js. And now that we've got these new type definition files, I want you to go up to the top of your file, and I want you to drag and drop from your typings folder, right? Not just the create.js library. So I'm going to go like one of these, but also one of these, right? And it should be kind of in order. Create.js first, then easel.js, right? And then tween.js. Don't worry about that. Don't worry, right? And then the last one, and see how it's doing. It's giving me issues because what it's done is it's separated this one. Don't worry about that. It's actually this, right? And the last one, of course, is this sound.js one. So I got create.js, easel, tween, sound. Here's my sound.js file. I'm trying to put it at the bottom. And don't worry if it separates, just put it back together. Because what I'm trying to do is they're multi-line references, and they're going to be like this, right? So I got easel, sound, tween, whatever. And the last one, the last possible one, should be our preload, because we need preload after all the others. And if it's in the wrong order, you can always switch it around. You can always grab this one as an example and kind of bring it down here, right? So you can rearrange them. This is the order I want. I want, by the way, this lib folder has to be at the top, right? My next one has got to be easel and tween, these two, easel and tween. By the way, I'll update GitHub for you guys to make it easier later on. All right, and now that I've got type definitions, it should take care of some of my errors, but I still have errors because I have this other thing with this WAAD issue. If I look at this issue, and if I go, I've got a bunch of different errors here, right? This wa.d.ts error, I've got this problem. And I've also got this nightly build thing, because I've got this nightly build that I've got in here. I only need one of these things. I only need this nightly build, or the wa, or this one. I don't need them all. So I'm going to get rid of this one. This 2001220120802, get rid of that. My wa.t.d.ts, I need one of them, one or the other. Nightly build is the latest one. I could use that one or this one. Let's just get rid of the nightly build, right? And then I have my wa.d.ts, and that should, the error should go away from there. Are you guys good? Just telling you what mine says. If you have my errors, this is what to do, right? No, don't worry about that. Okay, I still got a couple errors. One of them is this create.js sound issue for my loader, right? My loader is creating the issue, right? And the other one is this one here has a problem with plain. All right, it says the error is, if I'm going to open this up a little bit, it says my error is it doesn't accept object, right, as an object for my argument object. Well, I'm going to have to look in my preload.js, my preload.d.ts file. Let's look in there. And I want to go in here. This is actually what my type definition file looks like. If you notice, all it does is it indicates what each of these things are from a code hinting perspective. That's all it's for us, to help us do code hinting, right? So I need to find a place where it does my loader class. So right now this is just this abstract loader. I don't want to touch that. I want to go, here's my binary loader, here's my CSS loader, here's my image loader, right? These are all good things. My load item, here's my load queue. Okay, this is cool. My load queue definitely is something that I can do here. And if you notice my constructor, it has all these things in here. And if you look at install plugins, see where it says install plugin. This is the first change we're going to make. Under line 161 of my preload.js.d.ts, we're going to make an adjustment, right, for our little project. Are you ready? The adjustment's on line 161 where it says install plugin. And if you notice it's listening for a plugin, we're going to wipe this out and leave it as any, right, like this. If we do that and save, right, and we go back to game.ts, we notice up here the error is gone. So up here where we had our create.js sound issue, it's gone. We don't have the sound issue anymore, right? Because it's not expecting a plugin anymore, because sometimes create.js sound doesn't know what it is. And now here's the next one. This one down here is the next one we got to get rid of. It says that our bitmap file, our bitmap doesn't understand object. So it's not in preloader here. It's in the bitmap, which exists in easel.js. So let's go in easel.js.d.ts, right? And then this file, easel.js.d.ts, I've got to make an adjustment here, right? Where? Inside the definition of bitmap. So I go down here, here's my class bitmap. Look what it does. Image URL, or HTML canvas element, or HTML video element, or a string, or, here's my or, right? Or anything else, right? If I do that and press save, and I go back to my game file, I got no errors, baby.
Does any not include all of the others?
Everything.
So why do you have to type everything and then type any?
Because that way I still get my code hinting for my options. I want my code hinting. I just want to take away my error. Yeah. So preload.js, if I go there again, I got to go to preload.js.d.ts, not the preload file itself, not the library, but the type definition library, preload.js.d.ts, that file. All right. If I go there, it's on line 161, where it says install plugin. I want to change the entry just to any, like this. All right. 161, preload.js.d.ts. Should be the same number for you. Okay. That's one. And the other one is an easel.js.d.ts, right? On line number 46, right? I'm going to add in an or, so I'll pipe with a space and any as an option. Have you guys all done that? Now, if you guys have all done this, no errors in your code. you have any errors in your code? If you do, you haven't done one of my things, right? Okay, that's cool. I'm going to go back to my Team Explorer now. I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Changes, and I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say reloaded, what's going to call it, type D files, made minor adjustments. Okay, made minor adjustments. 46 and 161 are the two things I changed. Okay, yes, I do that, and I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Unsync Commits, and I'm going to go to Sync. And now, for those of you who are watching at home, or for those of you who are following along on GitHub, hopefully it'll update on the branch, and you'll see my changes. Okay, cool. I'm done. Okay, I don't have to play with these. Hopefully, we won't have to play with these type definition files again, right? All they are code hinting for us with TypeScript. You really don't need them, but we're using them because we want good type definition libraries for us. Okay, cool. Here's my stuff now. If I save everything, I should be able to build my project. So go build, build solution. It shouldn't give me an error anymore. Build started, build succeeded. If I run it now, I should get what I'm looking for, which means here's my plane. You guys get the plane? If you don't get the plane, something is wrong. Huh? Oh, you can download it from GitHub. Are we cool with the plane? It's okay, you can always go on GitHub and grab my images and fork me on GitHub and start from there. Don't go through this rigmarole. I want to show you how to fix it. It's there in the videos if you want to see it, just in case you want to start your own. There are some issues. I've already set up an issue with definitely typed. I put up an issue saying that it broke, kind of thing. But after I updated to version 1.4 of TypeScript, it's fixed. And I had to make some minor adjustments to both the definition library and again, these are quick fixes, workarounds. They're not fixes forever, okay? In a later version of my type definition libraries, I'm positive they're going to fix this issue, and in Visual Studio, we're not going to have a problem. Remember, these libraries in Create.js, they're not just made for us in Visual Studio. They're made for every platform, right? Okay, so good. We got the plane. That's good. I've done this piece. I'm going to pause the video here because it's getting long, and then we're going to continue after the short break.